Hey, how you doing? Keith Stephenson here from Thoughtful Teacher, and I'm excited to deliver my latest online course, Crush Your Next Teacher Interview: 20 answers to principals' favorite interview questions. You're probably asking yourself, Keith, how do you know? Well, let me tell you. I was an educator for more than 25 years. I've participated in dozens and dozens of hiring committees. I was an assistant principal, a principal, a vice president / superintendent over a network of schools across the country, and I currently serve as a principal coach. With all of this said, look, I've had my fair share of hiring teachers. As a matter of fact, I've hired more than 75 teachers throughout my career, supervised over 300 teachers, and interviewed over 200 teacher candidates. Look, I'm incredibly used to interviewing teachers, and I want to help you do a great job on your next teacher interview. So let me tell you, I know your frustration. So as a teacher, look, I identified positions that I thought I'd be a perfect fit for. I applied for the position. I interviewed for the position only to be rejected. I simply did not get the position. Now you're looking at me today as this like polished gentleman, maybe. But look, I'll tell you, when interviewing for positions, it's a very stressful process. You never really know what to expect. But I want to help you. I want to help you ease your stress. I want you just to be more successful throughout the process. So, as a decision maker, I know why some teachers are offered positions while others are not. And let me bring you in on a bit of a secret. Oftentimes, positions are not offered to the best teachers, but rather they're offered to the folks who interview the best. And when I reflect on my own interview process, I know why I was not receiving job offers, right? I simply was not prepared when I went into the interviews. I didn't understand what they'd be asking for. I didn't know the answers that they wanted to hear, but I want to share those things with you today, right? So I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made. So I want to introduce you to a few people before we get started. This is Tracy from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And last spring and summer, she interviewed 3 times for different positions, only to be rejected. Once she took my course, she was hired the very next time, right? It put her stress away. She was a very good student. She applied all the strategies that I taught her though, and she did a good job to land the next position. I'm not promising that you will land your next position, but what I am promising you is that you will be very prepared for the interview and you'll be in a position to knock it out of the park. So this is Ron, right? And Ron had been teaching for like 6 years, and he thought all he needed to know about the interview process because, hey, he was a veteran teacher. After being rejected, he actually took the course. And the next interview resulted in a job offer. Again, I can't promise you the results. However, it worked for these 2 people. And the question is, why can't you be the next? So in this mini course, you're going to learn the keys to a great opening statement. And many of you are probably saying right now, what the heck is an opening statement? Well, I'm going to walk you through those steps, and I'm going to teach you how to prepare for that opening statement. I'm going to share with you 20 questions that principals love to ask. But even better than that, I'm going to give you the strategies and the answers they're looking for to those questions. So by the end of this mini course, you'll receive the keys to an opening statement, 20 questions principals love to ask, and answers they'd love to hear. So let's get started with your opening statement. Again, you may not know what an opening statement is, but I'm going to explain it to you. It's that question that you always get at the start of the interview that says, tell me about yourself. It may also come, they may also ask, aside from your resume, is there anything else that you would like me to know? This is the statement, again, that comes in the beginning of every single interview. You know it's coming. You gotta prepare for it. If not, you're just giving away some of your advantage, especially in a short interview. Nail your opening statement, prepare for it, and be ready to knock it out of the park as soon as you go in. So let me tell you a few things about this opening statement, okay? There are 4 critical components in your opening statement. One is a brief introduction where you're just introducing yourself. The other one, you want to identify key accomplishments. You want to identify key strengths that you have as a teacher or benefits that you will bring to the building as a result of you being hired. And you want to explain why you are a great fit for the position. These are 4 critical components that should be in your opening statement. And in the planning guide that's attached to this course, you'll have activities to help guide you through the planning process. So please make sure you fill out those activities. It will put you in a perfect position to knock this opening statement right out of the park. So your opening statement should not be longer than 250 to 300 words and should not exceed 2 minutes, right? You want to be short, you want to be succinct in your answer, and you want it to include these 4 things, right? You want it to include these 4 components, but it shouldn't be long, no longer than 2 minutes. So variations to this opening question, to this opening statement, it may come in the form of what makes you a special candidate or a unique candidate, right? Why are you here? Why should I hire you? Why are you better than all the other candidates? These are all different variations of this opening statement that you will prepare for beforehand. What can you do for us that other candidates cannot do? Look, make sure that opening statement makes you special, right? You don't want to be like everybody else. You want to give information that makes you special. So here's an example of an opening statement. So please tell the panel about yourself. As you know, my name is Keith Stephenson and I was born to be a teacher. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. So most people say I'm from a large family. From my earliest memories, my favorite game to play was school. Growing up in a small town in Michigan, all of my siblings had the same teachers at our local school. When we played school, I loved playing our favorite teacher. His name was Mr. Jones. At 11 years old, I loved the feeling of teaching concepts and lessons to my younger brothers and sisters. Believe me, they were not always well behaved, but they always learned some information when we played school, and I loved to help them. When I started college, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, so I majored in pre-med. After 1 year struggling with courses in which I had no interest, I reflected on my experience of teaching with my brothers and sisters. Naturally, I changed my major to elementary education and never looked back. In college, I graduated in the top 5% of education majors and soared through the practice teaching experiences. I learned so much from my mentor teachers and students. They were simply great. I love working with staff and students to transform my students' lives. As a 3rd-year teacher, I have continued to grow as a professional. Last year, I served as the department chair for the 5th grade team. For the first time in school's history, our students participated in the district-wide National Science Day. This is very important to me, as I have a passion for exposing young students to STEM activities. In addition, my students demonstrated 1.5 years of growth in reading. Later in the interview, I hope to share specific strategies. I want to thank you for this opportunity to meet with you, as I'm sure I can be an asset to your school. So this example included the four critical components, and it did not exceed 2 minutes long. There was a brief introduction, there were key accomplishments, there were key strengths, and it pretty much lays out why I'm a great fit for the position. Okay, so create your opening statement before you go in, and again, use the activities that I'm providing for you so you can be well planned, well prepared, and you can knock that thing right out of the park. So let's get into the interview questions that principals love to ask. So you may be asking, where did you get this information? Well, I surveyed over 300 principals, and 500 questions were provided by principals. So I was able to narrow them down. For this mini course, I'm going to provide you with 20 of those questions. But I was able to narrow them down into 8 buckets or 8 categories, and 5 of those categories will be provided to you today. So 20 of those favorite principal questions emerged from this process. So the 5 categories that we're going to touch on today are your philosophy of education, you as a teacher, instruction, classroom management, and your compatibility with the school. These are the 5 buckets of questions that we're going to cover today. So you're certainly going to get a question about your philosophy. So what is your philosophy of education? What is your philosophy about students learning? It may come in a variety of forms, but you will likely get a question about your philosophy because it's a favorite of principals. So what drives you to do this work? What is your philosophy of education? What do you believe about children? What is your why? What is your why? So the principal wants to hear that you believe deeply in education. Do not present this interview like you're simply going to a job interview at Walmart. As a teacher, you have to have passion, and it must be embedded in something, and it's your philosophy, okay? They want to know that you love students, right? And education is not just a job, as I just stated. It's a passion. It's a calling, right? They want to know that you're responsible for student success. So don't go in and say, well, if the parents did this or if the kids did that. No. If I deliver information in this manner, my students are going to learn because that's my philosophy of education. Okay, you have to present your answers like that, okay? And include a story that links your practices to your philosophy. Tell stories throughout your interview. Tell them, right? Make those stories link to your success. You are a better interview when you include stories. So the second category, you as a teacher, they want to know what you're like as a teacher. And they come in from a variety of different angles, right? So for example, convince me to put your child in my classroom. What makes students excited to come to class every day? Who is responsible for students' failure? We kind of covered that in the first question too, or in the first bucket of questions. Who is responsible for student success? What are you passionate about? And how would we see that passion? When the interviewers are asking this question or this type of question, they want to know what you are like as a teacher, okay? So what does the principal or hiring committee want to hear? They want to hear that you're excited about your work, okay? Again, they want to know that you love to work with students. And kids love being around you. You're ecstatic about student growth and learning, right? Again, you're responsible for creating engaging lessons. And most importantly, parents want their child in your class. If you're a teacher and parents are requesting that their children be placed in your class for the following year, you know you're doing something right. Make sure you share that with your interview panel. So bucket number 3 is all about instruction, right? So those questions look something like, what do you do after discovering that you had students who could not read? Describe a lesson in which you had to differentiate the varying learning levels. They always like differentiation. Make sure you can answer that. How do you formally assess student learning? And if your students do not score well on an end of unit assessment, what do you do? So, what does the principal want to hear? You can go as detailed as you want, but the fact is they want to know that you have an instructional plan, that you know what to do when students are learning, you know what to do when students are not learning. They want to hear your instructional plan, okay? They want to know that student learning is important to you, right? If you're one of these folks who, you do not believe in state testing or assessments all the time, do not share that in the interview, right? Student learning and performance is certainly important, and you want to share ways in which you make it a priority within your classroom. You have strategies to meet the needs of all students, and you are responsible, again, for student successes and failures. When I was a school leader, I would tell folks, look, I can bring anybody off the street to fail students. I can bring a parent in to fail students. As a teacher, what do I do instructionally that separates me from the masses, that makes me a success? Okay? And that's what your principals want to hear when it comes down to instruction. So classroom management, there will likely be a question about classroom management. Do you believe in restorative practices? What do you do if a student repeatedly curses in your classroom? That's one of those scenario questions that you're likely to get. What does classroom management look like to you? Describe your classroom management style. So what does the principal or hiring committee want to hear? Well, they want to hear that you have a classroom management behavior system, and you follow the steps in that system. Again, it's like the instruction question. You don't necessarily have to provide all of the details, but they want to hear that you have an actual classroom management plan and you follow those steps. You make decisions based on a system as opposed to a personality. Don't say you go in and you give them that look and then students shape up, right? You don't want to come off as being like a bully. You don't want to bully students to behaving well, and you don't want to share that information during an interview. You want to speak to a system and that you follow the steps within the system. You want to say that you believe healthy relationships are like the foundation of a healthy classroom, right? The relationships are key. The relationships help with instruction. The relationships help with you as a teacher. The relationships are a foundation of the philosophy. Relationships. You want to make sure that you emphasize that you invest in relationships to keep students from misbehaving, okay? Again, you want to accept that responsibility. Yes, 100% of your students are not going to be perfectly behaved. And there are going to be times when you're going to have to send them out, send them away, send them to the office, send them to the dean, send them somewhere, right? But you accept the responsibility for that success, okay? And you want to share that in your interview. And the last but not least, you do not send students to the main office with the exception of like egregious incidents. If a student is dropping his pencil on the floor repeatedly every time you speak, while it is annoying as heck, you do not send students to the office for dropping their pencils on the floor and tapping them on their desks. It has to be something egregious, and that's the only time you call the principal into the scene, or an assistant principal or a dean into the scene. You handle your situations within your classroom. That's what hiring committees want to hear. And they want to hear that it's managed by way of a system. So, so the last bucket is your compatibility with the school. Folks want to make sure that you are the right fit. And this should be something that's important to you also. Are you the right fit for the school? Right? So, what do you know about Franklin Middle School that makes me think you would be a good fit? Why our school? Besides teaching, in what other ways can you contribute to our campus? If you join our team, what are you the most confident about and the most nervous about? So here you go. This gives you an opportunity to share exactly why you are the perfect fit for the job. And this is what the principal or hiring committee wants to hear. You want to work at this school. You are selecting this school for a reason. Do your research beforehand so you know something about the school that you can drop in and talk about, right? This is an IB school, and I went to an IB high school, and I've always valued IB education, and that's why I want to work at Franklin Middle School. Right? You're in a position to contribute to the overall school program. Now, this also was included in your opening statement, right, about the National Science Day and so forth. You want to contribute to that school. And there's nothing wrong with saying, for the first half of the year, I want to really get to know the ins and outs of the school. And then, starting in January or February, I want to start my own club in the school, right? I want to start my own club here. There's nothing wrong with saying that. They want to know that you selected the school for a reason and not just because, you're just trying to get a job, right? While that may be the case, do not share that in the interview, okay? And you are willing to learn ways to best support the school. We just kind of covered that before. Starting the second year, you may want to start a debate team at the school, or a foreign language club, or become the head coach of the football team or flag football team or anything, right? But you want to look for ways in which you're going to contribute to the school more than just being like the 9 to 5 teacher, because that's what's going to separate you from the other competition, is when you can provide them with specific reasons as to how you're going to be a good fit for the school. For some people, this mini course is enough. But if you're like most people, you're saying, Keith, I want more. To ensure you're 100% prepared for your next teacher interview, I created a masterclass. And the masterclass is called Crush Your Next Teacher Interview, 101 Questions and Tips from the Principal's Secret File. So in our masterclass, you'll learn Interview 101, interview preparation. I never knew, admittedly, and that's the reason why I was getting rejected from jobs. You'll master your opening statement. We covered some of that in this course, but we'll cover more in the masterclass. You'll learn about all 8 categories of questions that can be asked during the interview process. You'll get 101 questions plus principal approved responses. You'll figure out exactly, or you'll know exactly what to do at the end of the interview. What do you do after the interview? And we will talk about connecting with key people. So these are all pieces of the masterclass, which, if executed appropriately, you'll be 100% prepared for your next teaching interview. So in addition, you'll get a masterclass planning guide, which includes interview preparation forms, an opening statement guide, a sample opening statement, interview assessment form, and thank you email templates. So you'll get a variety of templates that you can use to execute throughout the interview process. So interview 101, we go through what to wear, when to arrive, who to connect with when you arrive to the building, how much cologne to put on, should you wear gum, should you be chewing gum or not, all of just the various pieces that send a message to the hiring committee if you're a good fit or not. We discuss those. We cover those under Interview 101 in our masterclass. So interview preparations, I train you how to get through the HR department and those phone calls that they make, like the screening tools that they use to kind of weed folks out. I train you how to kind of get through that process. I train you how to excel on the phone interview that may be with the school or the HR department. I train you how to research the position, how to research the school. These are all parts of the interview preparation process that we cover in our master class. Now, your opening statement, of course, that was a major piece of today's mini course, but we go a little deeper into it. We go a little deeper in the master class, right? So for example, you will be walked through how to conduct 5 stories that will highlight your work. Those are stories that you can refer to throughout the entire interview process, but certainly something you can refer to in your opening statement. So we touch on that, or we go deeper into your opening statement in our masterclass. So we go through all 8 categories. So I don't only share 5 categories of questions with you, but you also get all 8. So in addition to you as a teacher, instruction, classroom management, we touch on conflict resolution skills. No principal wants to hire a combative teacher. I'm just letting you know. Questions about personal and professional growth that seems to surface during most interview processes. Expectations around supports. How others perceive you. And the question that you get from left field. And you might say, well, Keith, what is that? The question is, okay, so you wake up and you are an animal. Describe what kind of animal you are and why you are that animal. Question from left field has nothing to do with teaching. However, the interviewer is trying to assess something about you, and I provide you with those strategies how to answer those questions. We also go over the weakness question, right? The weakness question. Please describe your strengths to the hiring committee. Now you already know what's coming next. What's coming next is describe one of your weaknesses. I provide you with strategies to answer that question where it actually turns into a positive, right? So we cover all of that in our masterclass. So we also provide you with 101 questions and principal approved responses. That's the key, right? I'm telling you exactly what principals want to hear to separate you from the masses. So we also cover questions that you should never ask during the interview process. These questions will sometimes just get you knocked out of the running and you don't even know it, right? So I will provide you with questions that you should never ask during the interview process. And also, I'll provide you with questions that you can certainly ask during the interview process, right? So in addition, you'll get your post-interview communications. And what is that? I will train you who you send emails to, what they should say, an email for accepting the position. And sometimes, even more importantly, the email that you should send if you do not receive an offer, okay? If you do not receive an offer. So you'll get templates for all of those different email communications. And I will walk you through the process of connecting with key people, right? The key people. An office manager is a key person in your interview process. You need to know that. And you need to know how to connect with that person. So if the information from this masterclass helped you land your next job, how much would this masterclass be worth? So should the course be based on the potential outcome of landing a job that's $59,000 a year? Now I know you are this is like the average teacher salary. So some are lower, some are higher. Don't kill me. I'm just a messenger. But still, if you're landing a job that's 50, 60, 70, 80K a year, how much should the course be worth that helps you land that position? And I'm going to answer it for you. It would be a very pricey course. But last year, I sold this masterclass for $149. And due to the current circumstances, I want to make this class accessible to as many teachers as possible. So as a result, the cost for this masterclass is only $59. What a steal. And I admit, I'm not the only person who can help you land your next teaching position. You can ask colleagues, friends, family members, classmates. You can even ask a principal. But again, I found out the hard way, and I want to make sure that that does not happen to you. I want you to remember Tracy and Ron. Both of them benefited from this course. They were struggling, so nervous going through the interview process, took the course, and were offered positions. Again, I am not guaranteeing that you will land a position, but what I will tell you is that you'll be extremely prepared for the interview process. So my question to you is, why can't this be you? Right? Why can't this be you? And since you participated and completed the mini course, I want to make you a special offer. If you sign up for the master course now, you'll receive a discount of $10. So a final price of $49. It simply will not get any cheaper. It won't get any cheaper. So the special offer is only available until midnight. Check your email to take advantage of this discount. I also offer private interview coaching for $199. We cover many of the same things, but it's customized for your specific needs. A lot of folks who have gone through 3, 4, 5 interviews and have not been offered a position consult with me to do principal interview coaching. It's very helpful, but ultimately, you'd have to listen and implement those strategies in order to be fully prepared for the gig. So, for questions, please email me at keith@thoughtfulteacher.org, or you can always give me a call or shoot me a text. I love helping people through this process. I hope the mini course has been helpful to you today. I guarantee you the masterclass will help you more, okay? It's a small investment for the possibility of landing your job, right? So, consider it. Make the investment today so you can take advantage of the offer, and hopefully I'll see you in the masterclass. Look, have a great day. Keith Stephenson, Thoughtful Teacher, signing off.